Hey, everybody. Hi, good morning. It's morning over here on the West Coast. I know some of y'all on the East Coast, it's like afternoon. So welcome, good to see everybody. My name is Rachael Savage, streaming live from Seattle, from Rebel Saints Meditation Society in Seattle for Against the Stream, with Against the Stream Meditation Center in Los Angeles. It's good to see you all. We got people from all over the place. Welcome. So Rebel Saints Meditation Society, we're right up from downtown Seattle, right in the middle of the city. And we are a place that we offer meditation talks and half day long retreats. We have refuge recovery at this space. So we have something going on almost every day of the week, usually at our space. Right now, we're still in the COVID shutdown, so we have people aren't meeting at the space, and we're meeting from all over the place. But we're still rolling, we're still rocking, we're still giving the talks. We still have refuge recovery online. Can't stop, won't stop, not gonna stop. So cool, good to see you guys, and it's been great that we've been able to keep the community, the Sangha, going through this time of isolation, that we've had to isolate from each other. I was saying last week in Seattle, it's not that much different than usual. People in Seattle they're kind of isolatory people. Anyway, so good to see you. This morning I'll offer a talk, and then we'll do a meditation based on the talk. Hopefully you get inspired to practice, and I'll guide the meditation, and then we'll do some discussion time with the group, with the community afterwards, and we'll end at noon, my time. So this morning the topic is equanimity. And what's interesting about equanimity is it's not only a heart practice, which is what I talk about on Sunday mornings, a heart practice, a way to respond wisely to whatever's happening, whatever we see in our mindfulness practice. Equanimity is also a result of mindfulness practice as well. So it's the seventh factor of the factor of awakening, the seven factors of awakening. And it's the culmination really of all the heart practices together. So if there is a goal to what we're doing, and I believe that there is, that it's equanimity. It's this mind of equanimity, both from the wisdom perspective and the wisdom practices and these heart practices that we cultivate. So this is the goal that we are working toward, to be able to respond to what's happening in our life, what's actually happening moment to moment, with this response of equanimity. And it can be described as being in the middle of our experience and being non-reactive. So some people wonder, what is it like to be enlightened? What is liberation? What does it mean? What's it going to feel like? What's the experience? And I think this might be it. I mean, there's some descriptions of nibbana or nirvana, and it's like all these opposites. It's not this and it's not that and it's not. But I wonder, like, what is it like to roll around as a enlightened being, someone who's liberated, someone who's freed themselves from suffering? What is that experience like? And it sounds a lot like equanimity. And if that's what it is, I'm down. I want it. So it's an ability to be able to inhabit our experience, to be in the middle of whatever's happening and have a non-reactive response, a response that doesn't lead to more suffering, that doesn't lead to more problems, and it's real. It's a response to what's actually happening to us in the present moment, internally, our internal experience and our external experience. And with the heart practices, these are different than mindfulness. There's a mindfulness component because we need to be aware of what's happening. But the heart practices are this response that we train and cultivate to be able to respond in a way that's skillful, which means that we don't add extra suffering on top of what's difficult or what's pleasurable. And this response is equanimity. So we kind of the basis of equanimity is we respond to what's happening with a loving kindness, a kind awareness. We're able to make room, we're able to react in a way that's friendly to what's happening. And then when it's painful, we learn and we train. The mind of equanimity is compassionate towards pain, which means we can care about what's painful rather than hating it. So it's still painful, but we suffer less about the pain, and we can actually free ourselves completely from the suffering through learning to respond to pain with care rather than react with hatred. The mind of equanimity is able to respond to what's pleasant, what's pleasurable, with non-attached appreciation. And to be able to be happy for other people when they're happy as well. It helps to free us from the suffering of jealousy and envy, and helps us to learn how to respond wisely to what's pleasant by not clinging and grasping, not reacting by grasping and clinging, but to respond with appreciation and actually enjoy it. So this mind of equanimity that we cultivate carries all these qualities, and it's badass, really. It's this badass state of mind that can respond wisely to whatever. So we don't have to be as afraid of life. We can face what is actually happening as it happens, and more through our training, we can respond in a way that we don't create suffering for ourselves. So this morning, I'd like to talk about what's called the 8 worldly winds. And these are things that blow through our life, conditions that happen to us, no matter what. We're just sitting around, and these winds are going to blow through, as we'll see in our meditation, as many of us have had the experience as well. We can just be sitting there. We don't even have to do anything, and these 8 worldly winds will come. So they can also be called the 8 worldly dharmas. That's how Pema Chodron refers to them, the 8 worldly dharmas. And in this case, dharma meaning truth, the truths of the world, the reality that we inhabit. And so they come in pairs. There's 8, but there's like 4 sets of 2. And I'll briefly go over them, and then we'll try to see what we can see in our meditation practice. And the main phrase that we'll use in our meditation practice today, we'll be repeating phrases cultivating this equanimity response. And the main phrase we'll use today is suffering or happiness is created through our relationship with experience, not with experience itself. So it's turning towards what is our relationship to what's happening. that it's not what's actually happening that causes us to suffer. And so these 8 worldly winds are things that happen to us. So as I go through the list, just reflect if you've had these experiences. If you maybe you've had them already all today, who knows? But if you can relate, if you've had these experiences in your life, in your own experience. So the first one is praise and blame, the first set of worldly winds. Praise and blame. And so no matter what we do, we will experience praise. The wind of praise will come rolling through our life at some point or another. Other people will praise us. We'll get compliments. We'll get recognition. So it's interesting here with each one of these to see for yourself, how do you classically respond to praise? And always with these investigations, we're looking to see, am I causing suffering? Do I suffer about this? Not if it's painful or not. That's just pain and pleasure are going to happen. As we see, that's one set we'll reflect on. But are we making ourselves miserable about it, or do we chase after it and want it and crave it? Or do we push it away? So with praise, some of us are like totally strung out on that shit. We love it. We love being praised. It's like delicious. I was just listening to a talk by Ajahn Amaro yesterday, and he was talking about winning and losing. And Noah was also referring to one of his books the other day and talking about the flavor, the taste of bitter and sweet. And so we can also ask ourselves, what is our experience with praise? Is it bitter or is it sweet? And that is a flavor. That we'll experience each one of these things with its own particular flavor that we taste. So praise, is it sweet? For a lot of us, it's sweet. We love it. We can't get enough of it. We want it. We'll do all kinds of stuff to get it. For some of us, the praise, we don't like it. It's uncomfortable. It makes us feel uneasy. We can't take a compliment, for instance. How are you when somebody gives you a compliment? I had some instructions from a mentor once that said, he said, the instructions were, if somebody gave me a compliment, I wasn't allowed to say anything but thank you. That's it. I couldn't say this whole thing. No, just take the compliment and just sit with it. Because when I would receive praise about certain things, I would just want to brush it off and not fully experience it. It made me feel uncomfortable. So how are you with praise? Blame. Blame, again, is one of those we can take either way. We can have a different flavor of blame. I personally don't like it. I don't want to get blamed for anything. And I have spent a lot of time in my life trying to be really considerate and keep my shit on point so I don't make mistakes and I don't get blamed for stuff. It probably comes from my childhood because I was the only child and I couldn't place the blame on anybody else. It all came down to me. Like when you got siblings, you can just like, oh, they did it. They did it. There's no one else to blame in my house. So I got aversive to blame. I don't want to be blamed ever for anything. So it seems Blame seems intolerable, has seemed intolerable in my experience. Some of us feels natural, feels normal. We get blamed so much in our life. If we're not getting blamed, there must be something wrong around here. So how much have you created suffering when you get blamed, especially if you're getting blamed for something you didn't actually do? Or somehow misunderstood or misinterpreted, or getting some blame for something you didn't intend. And has anybody been able to escape blame? Even if you're trying to live a blameless life, like they talk about in the teachings, blameless in the eyes of the wise, we still get blamed, whether it's true or not. How do we handle that? How do we respond? All right, the next set is gain and loss. And this is kind of back to Ajahn Amro's talk about winning and losing. It feels so good to win, to get, to gain. Many of us, we spend much of our life trying to gain, trying to accumulate, trying to get things that are going to make us feel safe and secure and get all our stuff just right. And we can do it with material things, we can do it with achievements in our life. And sometimes we gain through no effort of our own as well. Like gain's going to happen, whether we work for it or sometimes, something just happens. Somebody gives us a gift. Somehow we just accumulate stuff. Some people get lots of things. Teachers have this, they get lots of offerings. I had a teacher once and people were just always bringing him stuff. Gain. How do we relate to gain and loss? So here we are. We're living in this reality of constant loss. And we think if we lose whatever it is, that it's our fault. And sometimes it is. And sometimes it's just the way things are, right? That things are constantly changing. We're all losers, people, because we're constantly losing. And a lot of us are feeling this way and experiencing this in this COVID. This pandemic that we're in, we're like at the 6th month, I think. Some people have lost their businesses, their livelihoods, definitely lost the way of life that we were used to. Whatever that was, it's affected everyone in one way or another with loss. Either can't do the activities, can't do the same work, or if they are working, more work, longer hours, some sort of loss of freedom. So how do we relate to loss? How do we react when we lose? All right, the next one is pain and pleasure. So sometimes we feel like life is just one pain after another. There's a lot of difficult things we have to face in our reality. The First Noble Truth: birth, aging, sickness, death, having to be parted from what we love, having to endure what we don't like. painful. And pleasure. So sometimes we get caught up. This is me. I'm a First Noble Truth kind of person. So I'm just like noticing the pain of life and the suffering and, that kind of thing that, I wish it was more pleasant. And some of us, we don't want to look at that stuff. We just want to keep the party going and have it be pleasant all the time. Or maybe we don't see the pleasantness that's happening in our life. So as we start to practice mindfulness, we'll see that pain, difficulty, it's just part of the deal. No matter what we do, we're going to have some pain, some discomfort every day in our moment-to-moment experience. And on the other side of the coin, even if we're like depressed and we're upset and we're mad and we're like in a bunch of pain, shit's going wrong, there will be some pleasure, even if we think that it's just not possible and it's not going to happen. At some point, even in like the worst painful time in our life, if we pay attention with mindfulness to our experience, we will see there's some pleasurable moments. It might not last very long, but there'll be something that's pleasurable. We can't stop the pleasure. We can really work hard at it, but we can't ultimately stop every pleasure from happening, just like we can't stop pain. So I was on this retreat once and we were in this small group and people were sharing their experience, and this teacher, somebody was saying that they were just in pain and it just was not stopping and it was continual and they were just having a really difficult time. And this teacher was kind of harsh. He just said, well, you're not paying attention then. It's not possible. That's actually not reality. There's no way to sustain a state of pain from morning till night, 24 hours. So pleasure will come even if we're resisting it. So how do you respond? And just because it's pleasurable doesn't mean we don't suffer about it. Just because it's painful doesn't mean it's not pleasant. So the way we respond to pain and pleasure, we can make ourselves suffer about either one. We suffer about pain by hating it, by pushing it away, by avoiding it, denying it. We suffer about pleasure by clinging to it, holding on to it, wanting it to last. Or sometimes what brings up for us our experience with pleasure is we have trouble letting ourselves enjoy it because we know it's going to end. We understand the loss. So some of us, we just won't even let ourselves enjoy what feels pleasant because we're not used to it, or we haven't gotten a wise relationship. We haven't learned how to enjoy. That's one of our tasks in our Buddhist practice, our meditation practice. Learning how to enjoy without clinging. The last one is fame and disrepute. Are you someone who cares a lot about your reputation? Have you suffered about your reputation lately? Has social media made you suffer about your reputation lately? Do you want to be famous? Do you want people to know you? Do you want to be noticed? Do you want to be held in positive regard? or disrepute. You got a bad reputation. People are talking shit. Some of us, this is what we're used to. So some of us want to be, we're fine with it. We're actually fine with a bad reputation. We're fine when people are not giving us the attention. Some of us want privacy. Some of us don't want to see our name in lights. But either way, we can't stop either of these. Those people who, with the internet, right? They do something and it gets caught on video or something, and then all of a sudden they're famous. Sometimes it's for something really messed up. So fame is not always. And how do we deal with when people are, messing with our reputation? When we're misunderstood, when people are gossiping about us, when they think that we're doing harmful stuff. Do we suffer about that? I've actually suffered about that quite a bit myself in my life. If I think I'm misunderstood, or I think that someone thinks I'm doing harm, man, I've suffered about that. And actually just yesterday, I was walking in my neighborhood, I was walking in the park, and I saw someone actually who thinks that, has a low opinion of me. They think I made a mistake with something that with a decision I made. They think that I made a mistake, and they think that, I did something unskillful, and they tried to actually, mess my reputation up. They did it. And so I was walking through the park, and I saw this person. And I thought, oh gosh, right? Like, this person, I think mistakenly, of course, thinks that I, am a bad person or made a big mistake. And I was walking, and I decided I can't handle it. I'm gonna go a different way. I don't want to face it. I don't want to face that this person has this opinion. And I was thinking about this talk, and I thought, oh, this is disrepute. This is actually just something that this person thinks, and it's not true. But that's what they think. And so in their mind, right, disrepute. And I thought, this isn't, my practice is not about avoiding reality. As far as I know, this person hasn't changed their mind. Can I just walk by them knowing that there's some disrepute, knowing that maybe they haven't changed their mind? And so I decided, oh, this is the practice. This is to face what's actually happening, and to walk my talk and not suffer internally about what the reality is right now. And so I turned back, and I kept going on the same path, knowing that the person was going to see me, and that they might think that about me when they saw me. And that even though that's true, the choice that we have with our practice, the choice that I had in that moment, is then when I saw the reality, I could choose to not make it worse for myself. To see, like, oh, the way I respond to disrepute is it hurts, and I'm misunderstood, and compassion. Some compassion for myself. I was able to, in that moment, when I realized what was happening, bring in the practice of equanimity. Oh, here it is. I'm just about to make myself suffer. I don't have to do that. I can care. That it hurts when someone has a low opinion of me. So that's what we can actually learn how to do in our life. We can learn how to respond to whatever's happening, the conditions that we find ourselves in. I was just taking a walk in the park. I didn't expect to come upon a hater. I was just minding my own business and taking a walk. So that's how our life is, right? We're just minding our own business and all the winds just come. So we can learn to do this through training. And the way that we learn this is by practicing in our meditation practice. And as we practice in meditation, we'll have more and more of a chance to respond with this flexible, wise mind when we're out on the street, when we're in the rest of our life. All right. So let's practice together equanimity meditation. Go ahead and find your meditation posture. And we'll begin today with the sound of the bell. So finding your meditation posture, seated or on a cushion or a chair. Rest your hands in your lap or on your legs and gently close your eyes. And as you sit, scanning your body, relax any tension that you can let go of. And sitting with your spine upright and shoulders relaxed. Soften the jaw. Soften your belly. And bring attention to your breathing, gathering our attention here in the beginning. And bring attention to your breath, either at your nose or your belly. So, here in the beginning of our session, just letting ourselves have an open awareness of what's happening in our body, and in our mind. Just noticing sensations passing through our experience, thoughts, memories, plans, emotions. And here we can just see what we notice. Do we see any of these worldly winds in our experience? Pain, discomfort, pleasure, what feels good in the body. Often, what comes up in our mind are thoughts about the past or the future. And these topics of gain and loss. What we hope for in the future, what we fear will happen. Praise and blame. Maybe we keep having a conversation return to our mind and we're blaming or being blamed. Fame and disrepute. Maybe we find ourselves comparing ourselves to others, worried about our reputation. So if it's helpful, we can put a gentle label on our experience. Discomfort in the body, mind, or heart, pain. pleasurable sensation in the body, pleasant memory or plan, pleasant, pleasure. And the topics of our thoughts and memories and plans. Is it concerned with any of these worldly winds? Gain, loss, praise, blame. And just putting the gentle label. Ah, that's blame. There's praise, recalling a pleasant memory. We can shift gears into cultivating this idea of responding with equanimity by using meditative phrase. Suffering or happiness is created through my response to what's happening. By my relationship to experience, not experience itself. My happiness or suffering is created through my relationship with experience, not by experience itself. So letting that phrase sink in. It's a long one. So you can let it sink in. You can repeat it over and over. You can contemplate it before repeating it again. Happiness or suffering is created through our relationship to experience, not by experience itself. Suffering or happiness is created through our relationship to experience. Not by experience itself. So just continue this reflection and contemplation for the last 5 minutes until you hear the sound of the bell.